Climate change is not characterised by a single event occurring at a single point in time. You get these cascading events. So when one event bangs into another and rolls into another, and what we're dealing with is heat waves, bushfire smoke impact in the metropolitan area, power outages that occur, and then rain events which cause flood risk.
We absolutely are trying to be as prepared as we can. So we've got an emergency response team, we've got disaster recovery action plans, so we've done a lot of work in that space, mainly because of the amount of people we can have here over peak season. We're talking 3,500 people, so we need to be able to deal with different scenarios, and we do a lot of testing throughout the year on what that might look like. So I think we're as prepared as we can be, but again, it's being educated and constantly training our staff on how to be prepared to deal with these sort of issues moving forward.
As a business, you want to know your neighbour, because it's a very similar situation. Like, again, we had a heat wave at the start of the year. Bloke behind us was storing 2 pallets of wine, and he's like, this is literally going to cook. Can I store it inside your place? Yeah, of course you can, man. So it sat there for, if he hadn't made that connection with us, he wouldn't get to do it. If COVID has taught us anything, man, that human connection is so important at all levels. I know, speaking from my own personal experience, my mum, bless her, I don't want to be a bother.
Yeah.
Be a bother, man. It's all good.
It's really important to have your planning in place. Have a business continuity plan that looks at all the aspects of your operations of your business, what could be impacted, looking at all the risks, and then looking at the procedures and plans that you can put in place to mitigate those risks, particularly about a small business community. They perhaps don't understand the risks. They under-insure. They insure for their assets and for their buildings, but they don't actually insure for the disruption to business and the loss of trade. There are some great resources on the SA Gov business website, free templates that you can work through, look at your processes, look at the impacts from fire, flooding, those kinds of things. What are your processes that are going to be impacted? How can you prepare? How can you work with your staff so that they have an emergency plan? But also, how can you look at your inventory arrangement and those kinds of things? How can you look at storage? All of our councils have some great business advisors that are happy to work through the process with you. So take advantage of those.
What we've really noticed in relation to extreme weather events is 2 things. Firstly, the storms and the frequency of storms and the damage it does to the beach. People come here to see the beach and to enjoy their being outside. So if those things aren't here or are damaged, then that's going to be a real issue for customers to want to come and stay with us. The other is power outages. So in peak periods when it's really, really hot and we're at high demand of pulling down power, we over the last sort of 5 years ago had lots and lots of outages. But what we've done over the last 5 years is invest in capital infrastructure upgrades to really start to see those reduce and less impact on our customers.
Breweries are very power hungry things. Our biggest issue is that we could have anywhere up to 50,000 litres of product at different stages of fermentation around the brewery. And that's where the temperature is really important. We probably got 2 days before it becomes a problem, in which time we would need to get our hands on a generator.
Staff will be impacted by intense heat. They won't be sleeping as well. They won't be paying attention, reminding our business owners to give them extended breaks and those kinds of things.
We have a heat weather policy. We give our staff regular, obviously PPE, so they're wearing the right gear, but we also have built and bought some equipment. So we've got now gaiters, which is what the guys drive around in, and they've got canopies over the top, so they're protected from the direct sunlight. We allow the staff to use air conditioning in the cabins when they're cleaning when it's 40 degrees. Staff are my number one priority, so making sure that we can continue to run our business but make sure they're safe is really important to me.
You're talking 45, 44 degrees. People don't want to go out, so it's bad for business for a start. We are already working in a physical environment, physical work that's dealing with hot water, steam, warm things, humid conditions. So you add 45 degrees on top of that, it becomes actually quite dangerous. So in much the same way as the SES have protocols and things like that, we will shift work forward where we can to get it done earlier in the day, so that by the time the heat of the day comes, the work is finished.
My advice to small to medium business owners is to get educated. You need to actually understand. So reading, watching videos, YouTube, etc. is what we did. We also were fortunate enough to engage a consultant, but I think that's money really well spent. I think any businesses need to be prepared for emergencies because they are occurring, unfortunately, more and more often. So I think being prepared, having a plan in place and testing it every 6 months or so to make sure you're familiar with it. Don't just do it and put it in a drawer and forget about it. You need to really keep refreshing it and keep your team refreshed on it.
Like, it can feel like we're completely helpless because we're not big enough to enact what we would deem in our own minds as meaningful change. But what I would say to the small business out there is that every change we make is meaningful. Let's not focus on what we can't do. Let's instead focus on what we can do. And if that is, a 1% difference, a 0.5% difference, do that. Because if we all do it, we're always going to be in a better place.